Instant coffee has traveled quite the journey since its humble beginnings back in 1890. Once a novel convenience, it's now the lifeblood of early risers, late-night crammers, and caffeine crusaders worldwide. And leading this global coffee charge? None other than Nescafé, Nestlé's caffeinated crown jewel, serving up a jaw-dropping 1 billion cups of coffee every single day. Yep, that's a billion with a B. But where does this magical brew begin? It all starts with the hard work of over 100,000 farmers in coffee-rich nations like Brazil and Vietnam. These growers deliver more than 13 million bags of precious coffee beans to 24 high-tech Nestlé factories spread across the globe. Spoiler alert, there's a lot more going on behind your cup of joe than just hot water and a stir. Coffee cherries are harvested. The journey begins on lush farms in top-tier growing regions. Nestlé only picks from the best, places where coffee is practically a way of life. The coffee plants first burst into bloom with delicate white flowers. It's a short-lived spectacle, lasting just a few days, but it marks the start of something special. Then comes the wait. 6 to 9 months of nurturing and watching as those flowers transform into bright red cherries. These aren't your snackable kind, though. These are coffee cherries. And once they turn that signature ruby red hue, it's showtime. Farmers watch their crops like hawks, knowing the window for harvesting is tight. When about 95% of the cherries are perfectly ripe and only a few green stragglers remain, it's go time. Sure, some farms still handpick their cherries, and while that's great for tradition and Instagram photos, it's not exactly practical when you're producing coffee at a global scale. Enter the big leagues, mechanical harvesters. These machines aren't just efficient, they're like the rock stars of the coffee world. As they move through the fields, 1,500 vibrating rods on spinning cylinders gently rattle the branches. Each rod vibrates at up to 1,000 times per minute, causing the ripe cherries to drop into fish scale-like trays below. It's quick, clean, and way cooler than you'd think. This machine doesn't waste time. Each coffee tree gets just 2 to 3 seconds of fame. That's all it takes for the harvester to collect up to 60 bags of cherries in about 5 hours. What used to be a labor-intensive, day-long affair is now handled before lunch. Efficiency? We love to see it. Once the cherries are collected, they ride along slatted conveyor belts and drop into hoppers, temporary holding bins that act like pit stops before the next leg of their journey. From there, tractors haul the load to the wet mill, where the real transformation begins. Separation and pulping. Within just 8 to 12 hours of being plucked from the plant, these cherries are headed straight into a massive receiving hopper. That leads to a gravity separator, which looks a bit like a coffee-themed science experiment. In this water tank, the good and the not-so-good cherries go their separate ways. The ripe ones sink, they're denser and loaded with flavor, while the lighter, underripe cherries float to the top, like overconfident swimmers who didn't train enough. Next up, the cherries hit rotating drums lined with a rough surface. These drums don't crush, they finesse. As the cherries rub against fixed plates, the pulp is gently peeled away, revealing the prized coffee beans inside. But don't feel bad for the discarded skins. They're not tossed away. They're recycled into compost and returned to the soil, closing the loop with a little eco-friendly flair. Fermentation and washing. Now we're down to the beans, but they're still covered in a sticky, sugary layer called mucilage. To get rid of that goo, the beans are transferred into fermentation tanks, often lined with traditional ceramic tiles. Here, clean mountain water comes into play, breaking down the mucilage naturally over the next 12 to 24 hours. This step is a delicate dance. Ferment too long, and the beans develop off flavors. Cut it short, and the stickiness stays. So, farmers keep a close watch because flavor is everything. When the timing's just right, it's washing time. The beans are inspected by hand. Yes, hand, by trained farmers who check their texture to confirm the mucilage has softened. Once approved, fresh water is poured back in, completely submerging the beans again. Then comes the scrub down. Using a long wooden paddle, the farmer stirs the beans vigorously, scrubbing off the last of the residue. This step reveals a smooth parchment layer around each bean, the protective shell you never knew existed. As the water turns cloudy, that's a good sign. The mucilage is lifting away. This isn't a one-and-done process, though. The water is drained and replaced multiple times until the beans are squeaky clean. Drying the beans. And then, it's time for some sun-soaked drying. Because even coffee beans enjoy a little tan. The freshly washed beans are now laid out to dry. Not in hammocks, unfortunately, but on flat surfaces covered with parchment sheets or specially crafted drying beds. In some areas, shade is added to protect the beans from surprise rain showers or blazing midday heat. Throughout the day, farmers use long wooden rakes to gently turn the beans, making sure each one gets an equal share of sun and airflow. This isn't just to keep things fair, it's to ensure an even, consistent drying process. Drying can take anywhere from 7 to 14 days, depending on the weather. The magic number they're aiming for? An 11% moisture level. Once they hit that sweet spot, it's time to say goodbye to the outer shell. Sorting. The beans, still wrapped in their protective parchment layer, now head into the hulling machine. This machine delicately strips away the tough outer coat, revealing what we've all been waiting for, the green coffee beans. Now officially transformed into green coffee, the beans are sorted and cleaned with care. Quality control kicks into high gear. Only the best beans make the cut. Once approved, they're packed into 60-kilogram jute or sisal bags, each carefully labeled with its origin and grade for full traceability. These bags are stored in ventilated warehouses, safe from humidity, heat, and any uninvited guests with too many legs. Beans arrive at Nestlé factory. When the time is right, the bags of green coffee beans hit the road, bound for the Nescafé factory. And once they arrive, robotics takes over. A mechanical arm, fitted with a spider-like gripper, lifts the hefty bags with ease and places them onto a motorized conveyor belt. No sore backs here. The machines have it covered. As the bags glide along the conveyor, additional robotic arms make sure everything's perfectly aligned. But these machines don't just stack, they inspect. A moisture sensor scans each bag to check humidity levels. If a bag's not quite up to par, it's swiftly removed from the lineup. No hard feelings. Meanwhile, robotic probes randomly dip into passing bags, collecting samples for further quality checks. If all looks good, another robotic arm stacks the accepted bags neatly onto a pallet, like a well-trained game of Tetris. Taste testing. But we're not done yet. Each pallet is weighed to ensure every load is consistent. After that, it's time for the bags to be opened up and the beans transferred to the sifting machine. This sifter doesn't just sit there, it vibrates intensely, shaking out any remaining debris, twigs, or even tiny broken beans that didn't make the cut. What's left behind are the real contenders, clean, uniform coffee beans ready for their moment of transformation. But before they face the heat, they need to pass the final exam, and it's a tough one. A team of highly trained human tasters, some sampling up to 100 cups of brewed coffee a day, step in. Their mission? Detect even the tiniest flavor flaw. These taste testers are like coffee sommeliers, equal parts scientist and artist, because, believe it or not, A single bad bean can throw off an entire batch. Roasting the beans. Only after they get the thumbs up from these expert palates do the beans move forward to the roaster, where the real magic happens. It's here that the beans develop their deep flavor, captivating aroma, and the personality that will define every cup. Now it's time for the beans to face the heat, literally. They're funneled into a massive, double-walled industrial roasting drum, where temperatures soar between 370 and 540 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, rotating paddles keep the beans in constant motion like a spinning coffee carousel, ensuring they roast evenly without any scorching drama. The roasting time? Anywhere from 8 to 20 minutes, depending on the flavor profile Nestlé is aiming for. And here's a roasted truth. The roast level affects caffeine content. Lighter roasts, which spend less time in the heat, hold on to more caffeine. Darker roasts? They give you bolder flavor, but a bit less kick. So, your mellow dark roast might not be the wake-up punch you thought it was. Cooling and grinding. Once perfectly roasted, the beans are dumped into a large cooling tray, where powerful fans blow cold air up from below while mechanical arms gently stir them. This cool down lasts around 5 to 10 minutes, stopping the roasting process instantly and locking in the rich, complex flavor notes. Next stop, the grind station. The beans are sent into a colossal industrial coffee mill, where they're crushed into a coarse powder, basically the raw material for what will soon be instant magic. That powder is brewed into a highly concentrated liquid extract using a combination of steam and pressure. From this point, the extract splits into two paths, depending on the final product. Spray-dried for Nescafé Original or freeze-dried for Nescafé Gold. Let's start with the spray-dry route. The liquid extract enters a gigantic spray dryer, where it's blasted through a high-pressure nozzle, atomizing it into a fine mist of tiny coffee droplets. At the same time, jets of scorching air, blazing at 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and ripping through at 400 miles per hour, evaporate the moisture almost instantly. What's left behind is a cloud of fine, dry coffee particles, gently falling to the bottom of the chamber like caffeinated snowflakes. This becomes the classic granulated instant coffee we all recognize, and let's be honest, probably rely on a little too much. But for the premium brew, Nescafé Gold takes the scenic and colder route with freeze drying. This method preserves more of the coffee's natural flavor and aroma, making every cup feel like a freshly brewed experience. First, the rich coffee extract is gently simmered until it thickens into a molasses-like concentrate. Think sticky coffee toffee, but not for dessert. This thick liquid is sent along a conveyor belt toward its next destination, a massive 30-meter-long freezing chamber. Inside this tunnel of frost, the extract is chilled to a frigid minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit, instantly freezing the coffee and locking in those aromatic oils. By the time the extract emerges at the other end, it looks like a long, solid sheet of coffee ice, an oddly beautiful sight that's only possible through extreme cold and precision. The sheet of frozen coffee extract now meets its final transformation. It's fed into a massive machine lined with rotating blades, which slice and dice the solid slab into tiny frozen coffee granules. Think of it like coffee confetti with flavor-packed potential. But these frosty granules aren't quite ready for your mug yet. First, they go through a high-tech, space-age sounding step called sublimation, which, surprisingly, isn't just science class jargon. The frozen granules are spread out evenly onto trays that look a lot like giant cookie sheets, and then they're wheeled into a low-pressure chamber. Here, they're gently heated to about 140 degrees Fahrenheit over the course of 5 hours. Under these conditions, The remaining ice inside the granules skips the liquid phase entirely, vaporizing straight from solid to gas. No mess, no melt, just pure transformation. A powerful vacuum system removes all that vapor, leaving behind dry, airy, and incredibly stable coffee granules. These freeze-dried beauties are now shelf-ready, preserving all that bold aroma and rich flavor that coffee lovers crave. Packaging the final product. The granules tumble into massive storage sacks and are funneled onto a conveyor system that races them toward high-speed jar-filling stations. And when we say high speed, we mean lightning fast. Some Nescafé factories can fill over 320 jars per minute, or a jaw-dropping 250,000 jars a day. That's enough to fuel quite a few office meetings and study marathons. Each jar is filled in under a second. Blink and you'll miss it. Then comes the airtight seal, ensuring that every scoop you get is as fresh and aromatic as the day it was packed. A cap is twisted on, the label gets slapped into place, and just like that, your next cup of instant coffee is one step closer to home. From delicate white coffee blossoms on remote farms to the lightning-fast jar-filling assembly lines at Nestlé, it's clear that every stage in this process matters. Behind every spoonful of Nescafé lies a massive global operation, thousands of hands, and cutting-edge technology working in perfect harmony. So the next time you stir up a cup of instant coffee, take a second to appreciate the journey. Because what may seem like a quick caffeine fix is actually the result of a marvel of agricultural precision, mechanical engineering, and coffee devotion, all coming together to make that perfect, steamy sip. If you enjoyed discovering how your favorite instant coffee is made, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories, and share this video with a fellow coffee lover. Until next time, stay caffeinated, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.